cards are sure to celebrate all holidays. We also have cards for special occasions. We are your one-stop shop for unique and three-dimensional handmade greeting cards for all occasions. Specializes. We also break custom orders. Every card is crafted with care and made with love. The card is by the Express at 601-451-9526 or visit our website www.designedbybeesonline.com. Come check out the new Scriptural Discussion Hair Braiding and Natural Hair Care Salon, located at 18070 Mount Elliott Street. Our new salon is spacious with adequate parking, Wi-Fi, and all brand state-of-the-art salon equipment. Come meet your local hair braiders and natural hair care specialists, and check out our many hair care services such as hair treatment, box braids, cornrows, tree braids, cabana twists, children's braids, natural twists, block extensions, kinky twists, guided blocks, updos, full weaves, and more. Please feel free to visit us on the web at www.sistersbraid2.com or call 313-826-0498. Here at Sisters Braid 2, we offer professional care for exceptional hair. We look forward to seeing you. Sisters Braid 2 is a proud recipient of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund.
We would like to invite you to help support the efforts of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. Visit the website at www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. That's www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. We often hear how we need to work together to rebuild the city, and we're actually doing. You can make online donations and click on links to track the progress of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. And for more information, 313-868-0000 is a local number. Again, 313-868-0000. Support the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. You're watching WHBS, Highland Park, Detroit. FM 88.1 WHBR, the Highland Park, WVIE 107.3 FM Charlotte, Amalia, Virgin Islands. The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHBS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors. Brothers and sisters, are you tired of reading the Holy Scriptures and not really understanding what you read? And it's like reasonable sure every other that what you feel, you know, with someone you may have a different view than your own, then let's talk to one another. Let's reason with one another on a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man. A live broadcast every Sunday at 12 noon on TV 33, FM 88.1 WHBR, and Comcast Cable. So why don't you call and let's discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scriptures and their true meaning. So tune in to a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man every Sunday at 12 noon, right here on TV 33, FM 88.1 WHBR, and Comcast Cable. You can call in live on the air at area code 213-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Of course, the area code is 313. That's 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. And now let's go live to the scriptural discussion with the Son of Man.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you who are hungry and thirsty for the understanding of the Holy Scriptures. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. May Allah's Salam Alaikum. I want to begin, as I always do with the invitation to those of you who have some disagreement, whatnot with me. I want to give you this opportunity to discuss it with me. You know, the things that I teach them publicly. Thank you. And consequently, it would not be just for me to ask you to come to me privately with your disagreement. I put myself in the position of the person who's disagreeing. And I've watched how people act when they're teaching or saying something that's not correct. And then you go to question them about it, and then they want to say, well, we can discuss that in private. But what about all these people that heard you say that in public? If what you said was right and good or true, that's what I mean when I say good. If what you said was true, then what's the problem with discussing it in public where you said it? But if you're running game on people, what is the point of correcting somebody who running game in private? In private, he'll probably tell you, oh yeah, thanks for telling me. What is that doing for the people that he been lying to? So no. And I tell you something else. Whenever you are a person of consequence, meaning if you are a person that has some kind of authority over people, well then for your reputation's sake, you need to stay out of all of them private meetings with folks unless you have somebody there recording that meeting. Because you go to talking to somebody in private, they can come back and say you said anything. And then when you say you didn't say it, it's your word against who? And you always got some people that's, you know, already for some reason or another, already looking for an fault in you anyway. Hey, they got an old saying in this world, ain't nothing people like more than watching a star rise than watching him fall. So they don't just enjoy watching you fall, they'll help you fall. So the thing to do is to have your witnesses there. Do you understand? You know, everybody that's in here. I remember Jesus when they was asking, did you say this and did you say? He said, I didn't say nothing in private. I said it all publicly. Ask these what I said. Huh? Had covered that base, didn't it? So So I'm always, before how people say, well, he won't let nobody ask him. That's a lie. Everybody know that and listen to me. They know you lying. Because every meeting that I start, before I started, every class, I always ask now for the past, I think for at least the past year, I always ask, is there anyone that have a disagreement or something they want to take up with me before I get into a subject? Huh? You see? You notice I'm the only one that do that. See, I'm steady fulfilling the scripture and you don't realize it. Now, I have to make sure you do realize it. And that's why I always take you to the scripture that tells you about what I'm doing. In the 15th chapter of the book of John, now, look at this. Now, understand now. Now, you notice those who was given the book, how did the book say they recognize me? It says they recognize him as they recognize their son. Huh? The messenger kind of hinted to it when he was saying that the son, he said, I'm not worthy to be called your son. You make me as a servant. And he said, come on in, son. Because I didn't think I was fit to be called the sons of these men, all the stuff I done did. And the only reason I think I'm fit now is because they say I'm fit. So, it's just like when the messengers of God didn't want you calling them God. And then God himself put in the revelation. He said, I have said ye are gods. Well, that settles it. Huh? So the messenger said in Message to the Black Man, gods have passed away before, and you shall die like men. Huh? Like other men. Yes. But I could tell you of some promises that was made that is too wondrous to talk about. But I'm not going to do it. Not right now. I don't think it's meant for me to tell you right now. I don't know if it's meant for me to tell you at all. But right now, I'm going to show you these things. Remember, the Son of Man is prophesied to say, as you did it to the least of these, my brethren. What? You did it unto me? In the 20th verse of that 15th chapter, it says, remember the word that I have said unto you. The servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. No man know who the Father is but the Son. And they do these things because they do not know him that sent me. That's what's written. Then it says, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had the understanding of what sin is. But now they have no cloak for their sin. How you know that's talking about me? Because it says over in Ezekiel, the 2nd chapter, it says, Pardon me, the 3rd chapter. And the 4th verse. He said unto me, Son of man, go, get thee unto the house of Israel. Get on over there and speak to them with my words. What have I been doing? Okay, just remember. You know, I told you I'm through going back and forth with you after I done told you the truth. The messenger told you that I would do that. I'm not going to change what they said I would do. I'm going to do exactly what they told you. If he said that I'm through with it I used to try to go back and forth with you. I'm through going back and forth with you when I know I done shared the plain truth with you. No, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. And if you don't get out my face, I'm going to throw you in hell. Now, chew on that. But anyway, it says, but now they have no cloak for their sin. He that hates me hateth my Father also. Who is your father? Who am I the son of? There you go. Who are the man? Set your face for religion being upright, the nature made by Allah in which he created his men. And since we make no distinction between any of them, we just say man. Because when you've seen one messenger of God, you're looking at all of us. Now, he that hates me hateth my Father also. What did one of my fathers say? Lord, do not I hate them that hate thee? Yeah, I hate them with perfect hatred. Yeah. All of them. If you disrespect me and you think that the prophets, any of them is on your side, all of them, what did the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said? He said, I'm supposed to be designed by Allah to help push you into hell who reject your own. He came to his own, and his own received him not. For 43 years, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told black people, accept your own and be yourself. And yourself is a righteous one who submits. Give me one solitary reason why you feel justified to not submit to me. And I ain't just talking to black people. I'm talking to all people. Come on in there and tell me your reason why you feel justified to not obey me. I'm not going to throw you in hell for thinking you got a reason. I want to hear your reason. Because if you can present one solitary reason why you should not obey me, then I ain't the Son of Man. If your reason is valid, then I'm not the Son of Man. The scripture says she gave birth to a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Come on in here. Unmute your phone and tell me what your justifiable reason for rejecting me is. Yeah, okay. Remember, your silence is a witness against you. You just remember that. Okay. Now it says, now listen at this real good. If I had not done among them the works which none other man did. They had not had sin. But now have they both seen and hated me and the truth that I'm presenting to them, my Father. Yes. You see how real this book done got now? Look at me standing up on the internet. We the one gave them the idea. We did this. Who is we? Man and the truth? You serve Allah willingly or unwillingly, knowingly or unknowingly. Wasn't for the internet, Son of Man couldn't have the whole world standing in front of him. But now that we have the internet, even if you do away with it now, I don't care. Because you knew I was here. And so, if you want to do away with it, the judgment going to happen whether you hear me or not. Don't tell me you don't understand that. In civil court, they have your trial whether you there or not. You get a notice in the paper, judgment been rendered against you. Why? Because some people showed up and you didn't show up. Well, did the counsel, did you serve them? Did you serve them with notice? Yes, sir, Your Honor. Well, I couldn't find them, Your Honor. Did you do all of the proper procedures? Did you post it in the paper? Did you make sure that you did all you could, the last known address and whatnot? Yes, sir, Your Honor. Well, counsel, what do you want me to do? Well, Your Honor, I'd like you to rule in our favor and give us a judgment of $1 trillion. And then the judge said, it's done. And that's that. And you wasn't even in there. But the court went on and held court anyway because you had notice and you should have been there. I told you there's stuff going on. You don't know what's going on. You hearing about all these earthquakes and stuff hitting people and people dying? It's all kind of terrible stuff happening. Look at them fires out there in California. America is honeycombed with hypocrites. How I know? Because I've seen this rodeo before. In that said nation of Islam, it was honeycombed with hypocrites. And it was people right inside of the nation working to tear it down. Now that's going on in America. That's right. Yes, what is the question?
The question comes from Ross, the Noel Lion of the Pot. And he asks, may I see your seal of God to show others that you are...
No, sir, I'm not finna undress in front of you. No, the seal that's on me, it wasn't for you. It was for me. I remember when I first discovered the crescent and star on my chest. And I showed it to some of the brothers I was staying with. I said, man, I know Islam is for us because we got crescents and stars on us. And the brother said, Brother, ain't got nothing like that on me. And so I just left it alone. I didn't think no more about it. And then when the messenger passed, I thought I would show people. I invited a brother and his family. And I took my shirt off. You know, my wife can bear witness. Took my shirt off and showed them the crescent and star on me. And the brother went back and told people I was there undressing like a wild man. And so I, you know, I mean, do you honestly think I think that that birthmark that's on me makes me the Son of Man? What makes me believe I'm the Son of Man is that I'm the only one that understands these scriptures here. It ain't got nothing to do with no birthmark. But the birthmark showed me that I was in the right place under the right leader. For the crescent and star sitting on the messenger's head. And the messenger said, he said, I am the right hand of God. Well, what you see sitting on his head? The crescent and star. Son of man, sit on my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. So Elijah had to come before me. Then he said right after Elijah, he said, Elijah don't come ahead of God. I mean, after God. He said he goes before God. Then right behind him, God will appear. I don't know nobody else appeared right behind him but me. And you saw a witness that brother that brought me, and he told you that I had been telling him that I was the Son of Man. Way back in 75. The first thing I did was grew into the scientific knowledge of the number 6. You see? And you couldn't catch up with me then. And I got a book to prove that. I wrote a little book called Sun, Moon, and Star of Man. So, I mean, here you sitting up here, a man opening up the understanding of the scriptures to you, reciting the book and teaching you the book and the wisdom and removing your misunderstanding, and you ask me to show you a sign. Yeah? Yeah, all right. Anyway, and here I'm sitting in America, a Christian country. And yet you don't hear no Christian. Here I'm on the air, and you don't hear no Christian trying to argue with me and say that I'm misinterpreting the Bible. And you ask me to show you a sign. Here I'm sitting in a country that started off with my people in slavery. And everything that we knew, we got it from our slave master. And you see how frightened to death we are by white people. Look at all these preachers kissing up to Donald Trump, knowing he don't care nothing about black people. He proved that for 8 years. He was running around here insulting the first black president, which was a slap in the face of every black man, woman, and child in America. And now they over there kissing up to him. Scared of him. And yet you see me here in Mississippi. You don't even know how to spell Mississippi. It's M-I, crooked letter. Crooked letter I, crooked letter I. Humpback, humpback I. Show you how old I am. And you asked me to show you a sign?
Sir, now he says, tell slavery history the real way.
I'm not finna go back and redo what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad already did. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad already told you the true history of slavery in the right way. Ain't my fault because you the children of rejectors. And know this, I told you, I got time to wait on you to die. I'm just telling you like it is. You better read the history of Moses. What did Moses do with all them rebellious people that wouldn't submit to him? He didn't do nothing. He just waited. Keep clowning. Now I'm just going to watch you die. I ain't sitting around here waiting to beg you to do nothing. Bunch of lazy, trifling people that hate yourself. Yeah, I learned from being here under this man what to do with people who don't have sense enough to care enough about themselves to protect themselves. Here, this man, look at what Robert Mueller and the Justice Department, this man done set up him something to defend himself from internal and external enemies. I respect that to the highest. Let me show you something here. I told you that the Congress was full of crooks. I told you that they was paid. You don't even know these people. They just pop up and wind up in Congress. Probably snatched him from off the street somewhere. Or brought him here a long time ago and let him grow up here and then taught him something. Taught him what to do to betray you. Just look at this.
And there are so many different. Nick, I'm going to interrupt you. We're going to listen to Chris Collins. Here we go. Thank you all for coming today. Before I get started, most of you here know my wife, Mary, of over 30 years. Thanks for being here. National press may not know Mary Sue as well as our local press does. So over the
national press don't know him. I bet Grover Norquist and whoever his handlers are know him. Now, he just got indicted. Just a minute. You remember they sitting up there committing obstruction of justice? Them people call themselves investigating the Justice Department, investigating the FBI, trying to obstruct justice. You finding out, yes, they can arrest them.
I've often talked about the American dream. I'm extremely fortunate in that I have lived it. It started for me when I borrowed and started scraping together every dollar I could to buy the Westinghouse Gear Division here in Buffalo and move it to Niagara Falls under a new name, Not All Gear. I'm proud that we put hundreds of people to work who are still working there today. After selling Null Gear in 1997, I ran for Congress in 1998 up in the Niagara Falls area, knowing that my business experience would benefit the citizens of New York and offer a new perspective in Congress. After being humbled in that race, I spent the next 10 years as an entrepreneur, investing in and helping to stabilize dozens of bankrupt and financially distressed companies, saving and creating hundreds of jobs here in Western New York. In 2007, I was recruited to run for Erie County Executive to turn around the effective bankrupt county.
Now, here's a man trying to pretend that he cares about America. But he's been supporting everything Donald Trump in there doing. That remind me of Minister Farrakhan up there befriending Gaddafi. Now, even if Gaddafi may have started off in a friendly way towards us, the minute he tried to get black people in America to go to war against America, inside of America, he proved he was no friend of ours. You know what a war really is? A war is a clash between two equals that both have a chance to win. You don't call, I tell you what, you remember Muhammad Ali? Muhammad Ali had better have did all of his fighting in the ring. Because if he met somebody out there on the street and put a whooping up on him, he'd been sitting up in jail probably for the rest of his life. Because his fists are considered deadly weapons. And he fighting somebody on the street that don't know nothing about the art of boxing, then that wasn't no fight. When one side is well trained in the art of war, of warfare, and the other side knows nothing about it, that's not called a war, it's called a massacre. And Gaddafi tried to get Farrakhan, offered him the wealth of Libya, as I said, to rise up against America and declare war inside of America, and as if we could do some warfare against the most powerful armed forces of this world. These people, and then want to claim that they are our friend. With friends like that, we sure don't need no enemies. The Honorable Elijah, he's without excuse, because the messenger said, when Malcolm was suggesting that we get some guns, and he said that was bloodbath teaching. You ain't got nothing to go to war with in this country but what the white man give you. He'll put that Dirty Harry line on you. Go ahead and make my day. That's all he want to do is see you with a gun. That's what he did to the Panthers. They started off feeding children breakfast in Watts. Next thing you know, they walk around there with ammunition belts across them, thinking that looked cool. Next thing you know, they was getting shot in their beds and everything else. I mean, you want to talk about war, you need to understand that when you're talking about you an army, you can't never sleep. The American Armed Forces don't sleep. They have what's called guard duty. When some sleeping, others are woke watching. You know, I might be a child, and I might have been born yesterday, but I sure wasn't born last night. I got that one off of TV. But the truth of the matter is, I'll tell you, like the messenger told everybody. He said, if I cannot lead you out of the fire, I certainly won't lead you into it. That's just another way of saying, if I don't know a way to get you peacefully into your freedom, I'm certainly not going to cause you to lose your life on some pipe dream. We wasn't put in slavery so we could fight our way out of it and shed blood out of it. We already been under people who knew how to do that. No, the book says they shall come out with great substance. How much substance do it take? How much wisdom does it take to murder somebody? A lion can do that. All you sick people sitting up out there, it's sad. You are an embarrassment to me. The same thing the messenger said, you makes me shame. The very one who got the most questions for me ain't doing nothing. Sitting up out there trying to judge me. And you know what you know something else you learned from the ruler? I'm talking about the white man. You notice how long the FBI studied everybody before they started charging people? He wasn't going to go in there talking about, well, I think they're doing this. I think they're doing. What are they doing? Well, case dismissed. Get out of here. Do you understand? You know, I have not yet met a black man in this country that can claim he's my equal. No, and I'm not saying that as a self-important fool. That's just my way of saying I have yet to see another black man doing the things that I'm doing for our people. And the few people that I have helping me, they're not suffering for food, clothes, and shelter. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to give me the money to go and invest in things for them. And they know it is for them. So this man standing up there trying to convince the people of New York that he's so magnanimous. And yet they doing what did they magnanimous to who? He letting you know he's the CEO of some corporation. Huh? He said that he bought a company. He got the American dream going. Is that right? Who did they just give all them tax breaks to instead of making them pay their fair share to take some of the tax burden off of? You know what the business community does in the average city in America? Most of you don't even know what the business community was designed to do. And And by doing that, it encouraged the people that live in the community to support the businesses in the community. The business community pays, they were designed to pay taxes to such a degree, like 35, 40%. That is to go to help run the local government, so that the property tax on the individual person is very, very low. So the people are, every time they spend money with their businesses in their community, they are actually getting a twofold blessing. They keeping their taxes low, and they ain't got to leave home to go way up in Boogity Wood somewhere to get some groceries, because they got a grocery store right there in town. So they saving money that way, and they keeping their taxes low, and at the same time, the convenience of having people that's in business in the community is just, you just can't beat that. Most of our people get in government and don't even understand how government works. And ain't nobody tell you. That's why most cities, when a black man or a woman take over, it makes no progress. White businesses move out because they're not going to establish a black a tax base for black people. They as good as saying, okay, you want to be equal to us, okay. Well, then you set up your own businesses and stuff, and let's see you do it. Do you understand? See, he ain't saying nothing. Now, hear this man stand up here talking to himself. He calls a press conference to make a speech. A press conference supposed to be so the press can talk to you too. Now watch what happens.
I was elected, and by applying the principles of Lean Six Sigma, turned around the county finances in 18 short months, all the while honoring my campaign pledge to work for $1 a month. One of the many companies I invested in was a small drug development company, Innate Immunotherapeutics, that was working on a unique cure for HIV patients suffering with AIDS. Ultimately, that focus shifted to a treatment for secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, which is one of the deadliest autoimmune diseases known to mankind. My affiliation with this company is why we are here today.
Now you know, medicine is one of the biggest businesses in America. You and me think that he was concerned about multiple sclerosis victims, and that's why he invested in a company that had came up with what he thought was a cure for multiple sclerosis. Instead of just telling the truth, you know, I think it was a good investment. I stood to make a lot of money off of that, right? But now he gonna tell you that he was affiliated with them because he was concerned about multiple sclerosis victims. You don't invest in the stock market because you're concerned about nothing but some money. Now you know, let's be truthful. The stock market ain't open for charity. It's open for business, for money, making money. People invest money to do what? To make more money. And like that movie I saw, the man said he called me Mo, because every time I get some money, I want some more. So that is what you know. Now he gonna stand up there and tell the people in New York that he was concerned about multiple sclerosis victims. Now you watch how he spends it now.
I've been an avid and unwavering supporter of innate immunotherapeutics for more than 15 years, long before I came to Congress or was elected county executive here in Erie County. Over this time, my affiliation with innate immunotherapeutics has prompted attacks on me, my integrity, and my investments by my political opponents. I believed in the company and still do, and in the potential of a drug that had the real possibility of improving the treatment option for secondary progressive multiple sclerosis patients, which is about the most debilitating disease known to mankind, and something that I saw firsthand affect a close family member. Over the years, I invested heavily in Innate, became the company's largest shareholder, and an uncompensated member of its board of directors. Without my investments and steadfast financial support, the company would have gone under, bringing with it a premature end to a drug I truly thought would revolutionize treatment options for secondary progressive MS. Of all the things I wanted to accomplish in my life, finding a cure for secondary progressive MS was at the top of the list. After years of blood, sweat, and tears, we firmly believed we were on the verge of a medical breakthrough. Sadly, despite showing great initial promise, the drug was ultimately shown to be unsuccessful, which is a setback for all those suffering from this deadly disease. Many have speculated about my relationship with Innate. Here are the simple facts. My connections with the company are well known. I believe I acted properly and within the law at all times with regard to my affiliation with Innate. Throughout my tenure in Congress, I have followed all rules and all ethical guidelines when it comes to my personal investments, including those with Innate. When it became clear that the drug I and others believed in fell short of our hopes and expectations, I held on to my shares rather than sell them. As a result, the significant investment I made in...
Okay, now, he said he was if it hadn't been for him, the company would have went under, right? Well, what did you expect him to do with a company that he owned? He had no choice but to hold on to his stock in it. Sell it to who? Do you understand? But now, they caught him doing the thing that a lot of them up there been doing. Insider trading, they call it. Getting information about what companies are about to do and whatnot, and then they go and invest in it, or if they already invested in it and find out that the company is something bad about to happen to it, they go sell their stock. While the rest of the American people who got investments in it, they don't know what's going on. They take losses, while the ones who got that inside information, they don't take no loss. That's very dishonest. It's unethical. It should be laws against it, but Congress don't make no law against it because Congress is the one that's doing it. Look, this is not a bigoted forum. If you want to defend the man, you come on in here and let me give us the skinny on it, because I don't claim to know everything about insider trading and the stock market and all that and how it works, but I do know how game running works. I know when somebody's standing up trying to make something evil look like it wasn't nothing wrong with it. I got sense enough to know when somebody trying to give me a snow job. This man remind me what he did there. He called the press there. Now, why do you think the press showed up? Do people of the press come to hear you give a lecture? Even if they go to an event that the president is speaking at, they want to be able to ask questions. Isn't that right? They don't come there. You done call all them people there, and you get through talking, and then you walk away. That reminds me of what Rodney did to Geno Jennings. Rodney stood up there and took up all that time on that stage, making Geno Jennings think that they were going to have a dialogue. And when he finished, he said, and keep your mouth off for Minister Farrakhan, and walked out. I was embarrassed that somebody who called themselves a Muslim would do somebody like that while claiming that you a Muslim and you do an unjust action like that to a man. Don't agree to a debate and then introduce yourself. When the man give you the chance to introduce yourself, you stand up there for 45 minutes or a half hour talking and then walk out. Because that makes you a liar. And so, you know, I mean, that really kind of took a lot out of me the next day when I was supposed to talk to Pastor Jennings. That's why he said if I do like Rodney, he would go, you know, and I had to tell him, you know, that was wrong. You know, I'm not going to try to whitewash it. What was done to Geno by Rodney was wrong. If you didn't think you was up to an argument with him, you shouldn't have accepted the invitation. But that's what happens when you think you can be religious without the word of God. You know, religion is not something that you can talk about any longer. Can you talk about religion subjectively? You now have to deal with the real thing. For the object is here now. Ain't no more opinions. It's just like when you walk into federal court. When you walk into federal court, it ain't about what ought to be and what ain't fair and what might not be, and what it's about what does the law say. You know, I understand why the messenger compared our government to the government of America. He was asked how would the people be guided in the hereafter? He said it will be a divine government, and they will be guided much like the people are guided by the Constitution of America right now. You see, but only our Constitution is the word of God. You see, you notice you ain't never found nobody yet that can think up something that they need to add to the word of God because they don't cover that. We have indeed sent down clothing to cover all your shameful acts. And clothing that will create beautiful character in you. And clothing for the mind that will guard you against evil. And everything we sent down is the best because it comes from the best knower. So, and the best knower's down there talking to you now. No man knows who the Father is but the Son. Well, then the Son is the best knower of the Father. You don't know how silly you sound trying to call yourself telling me what the Scripture said. You don't know what the Scripture is saying until I tell you. You know what you think it means. But Allah ain't told you what it means. He told me to tell you what it means. And he told you to submit to me. You see, ain't nobody contradicted me, right? You hear that what that? That's the sound of silence. Now let's listen to this man some more. Here.
Company worth millions of dollars were wiped out. That's okay. That's the risk I took. My real concern lies with the millions of people suffering from secondary.
He never should have said that's okay. Because when he said that's okay, his actions after that showed that it wasn't okay. Because they caught him telling people to sell after he found out how bad things was. So it wasn't okay, was it? I bet you I'm the only man on the planet that can say it's okay if you lose. If he had something that was worth lots of money and lose it, don't lose no sleep over it. You know how much money the believers had invested in that building over there when it burned down? Brother Calvin and Brother Morris know. Because you all had to replace just about every board in that place, didn't you? That building was 280 feet by 50 feet, all wood. Had a bunch of expensive tile work in there. Had, I mean, for the money that you all had invested in it, you don't realize how many thousands and thousands of dollars was burning up in that place. Did I act like I was worried about that? It's not that I didn't care, but if it's done happen, well, it was as Allah willed, and I'm satisfied. You know? So while it was burning, I was on the phone finding some trailers. Worrying about, ain't got no time to be sitting out crying over spilled milk. What do you do when you spill something in your kitchen? Do you stand there and cry, or do you go get a mop? Get it up. And the crying ain't gonna get it up. You see? First thing I thought about when I saw it going up, I thought about my brother who warned me that there was too much on a temporary service, too much power being pulled on a temporary service. I listened, but I didn't listen soon enough. And I took his advice too late. We had already made arrangements to have the power turned on, but it was too late. You know, I asked him to add a little bit more to it because I want people to be able to wash and dry their clothes and stuff. But that would have been fine if we had used the gas dryers, but we going fully electric. Burnt the place down. But it wasn't, it was just me learning that, look, when the ones with the knowledge, when someone with knowledge, that's what I'm telling you, white people about your country now. You don't know what the FBI knows, but you know the history of them. They ain't got no history of betraying you, but they do have a history of protecting you. Do Donald Trump have a history of wanting to protect you? With his bone spurs? Well, it's the truth. No, he ain't got no history of wanting to protect nobody but Putin. Every time Putin passed gas in front of him, he there with his nose sucking it up. It's sad. You better back up, Mr. Mueller. You better back up, Mr. Rosenstein and Mr. Ray. People don't understand what's meant by America being a nation of laws. You can tell they don't understand because they keep talking about getting rid of Mr. Mueller. They done told you that investigation ain't going in nothing. You got to get rid of the laws. Getting rid of a man who upholding the law, that ain't gonna change nothing. Because these people know, the patriot knows that it is not your army, your navy, your Air Force, or your Marine Corps that's done kept America what it is. It is the adherence and the respect for the laws in America that has kept America safe. I've learned the value, just like the Word of God. I make sure that I'm inside of the Word of God. Then it don't make me no difference what happened to me from that point, because it ain't gonna happen unless Allah have said that that's what's going to happen. And I ain't read nowhere where he said he's going to let you kill me. I ain't read nowhere in there where he said that I got to be scared to stand up and speak his word to nobody. He told me to be not afraid of them. And you can tell I ain't afraid of you. I give you my home number. I give you my address and all that. You ain't giving me yours. I give mine out publicly. No, you ain't scared that I'm gonna come do nothing to you. But you're scared it might be somebody out there like you that might pay you a visit. You coward. One of these days, I'm going to tell you where the coward come from. You know that word, they done showed you. You just ain't paid no attention. This man know how to torture people, man. If he got you're talking about the death of 1,000, he know how to put you to death in so many ways. I beheld a pale horse, and his name that set up on him was called what? Death. When he finally got that bomb that could make the atmosphere burst into fire, he said, I'm become death. Huh? They even talk about a bomb they got called a neutron bomb. Kill the people and leave the buildings intact. Ain't that something? You know, he got sense enough to know what to hold on to the knowledge of and what to let out. But Allah have not made him a fool. So I'm telling you, it's just like Mr. Mueller going after these crooks. Who gonna go after them? You don't know what they're doing up there. But the shadow knows. And I ain't talking about no shadow government. I'm talking about, you know, your shadow, it follow you everywhere you go, right? The FBI, they follow everything that looks suspicious. That's their job. And you better be thankful that they do. Oh, well, you know, in order to appreciate that kind of action, you almost have to be a head of state yourself. The average person, they you know, people say, well, we need to get the government out of our business. Oh, yeah? I thought America was a government of, for, and by who? The people. What is it that you conduct in business that you don't want the government to know what you're doing? People that's doing the right thing, you don't need to hide to do the right thing. Now, do you? I'm not saying that you don't have a right to privacy, but your right to privacy stops when you start scheming to hurt others. And people say, you sound like you on their side. That's a fool. People accuse me of that all the time. You taking their side? You better go read up on what the Son of Man, what the book says that I love and what I hate. You think because you look a certain way on the outside that doesn't make me overlook what you're doing? I love good and I hate evil. I take the side of right and I'm against wrong. A Muslim is one who enjoins good and forbids evil. Not one who loves black and hates white. Now you nor loves white and hates black, or vice versa. Because all people are my people. In that sense, the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world, and everybody in it. You better grow up. You know, when you get a certain age, you know how they find out that something going on wrong inside your brain? I mean, the final telltale thing is when you get 12, 13, 14, and you still talking like you did when you were 6. If your parents, they don't have to be rocket scientists to start figuring out, hey, wait a minute, something wrong with our child here. That boy done stop. That boy, we better take him to see somebody. Why? Because his mind is not keeping up with his body. His body is maturing and his mind is on idle. Huh? Let me tell you something. You ever tried to put toothpaste back in the tube? It don't work. Right? You know, it wasn't designed to put it back. How was it? No. Well, likewise. You know, you can't undo history. It's been done. Ain't no sense in you trying to now pretend that black people are stupid or that black people are inferior and all that foolishness. Well, you done seen black people excel in everything that you used to keep us out of. You know what Goebbels said about Jesse Owens when he looked at Jesse Owens? He said, it's not fair. It's not fair that you bring that's just letting him run in this Olympics is like letting a deer run. And it was funny, but it was an admission, whether he realized it or not, that he knew that of all of the people out there, when you put the black man up against any other people, naturally the father is going to be stronger than the rest. That's just natural. Why do you think we had to go to sleep? God saw all the things that he made, and then he rested. He stopped his work. Because if Allah did not stop his work, then the devil couldn't get busy. That's why he rested on the Sabbath, as the book says, and he told his people, now look, you got 6,000 years to do all your work. But remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And you living in the Sabbath day now. And so this is where, this is what time it is now. And you can think all the evil of me that you want. But I know I ain't did nothing but good to any of you. And regardless to how you put it, if you had been in my position, you wouldn't have did what I did for so many people. You know how I know that? It's because you are not a person, you have it in you to hold grudges against people. When I don't. I hold everybody the same as people. I just make a distinction between what people do. The minute a person stopped doing an evil that they was doing, if they really change, I can forgive them immediately. With you, ain't none of y'all like that. Ain't nobody that's in this room and ain't nobody outside of this room that's like that. Somebody wrong you, you never forget it. You're like this body. That's what the body is. I got a scar on me that my body ain't never forgot. And it's every time I look at my hand, it's right there. It's called scar tissue. But I can heal your mind if you let me. And those former things that people did to you, and all you got to do is do like I tell you. If I tell you to leave something alone, forget about it. Forget about it. What I mean is, don't keep entertaining it. Don't keep bringing it back up in your mind. And you will discover that you will have a peaceful life. Now that Allah is here to judge, why are you trying to judge? Once a man, you notice, people go to court. A murderer may be on trial in court. Them people that's sitting out there in the audience, the family of the one that was murdered and the family of the murderer, they sitting on opposite sides of the courtroom. But ain't neither one of them can do a thing but sit there and look. And they know that. And because of America being a nation of laws, you see that people have accepted that live in America. For the most part, the people of America accept that. So if the one who is accused of murder, if he is found not guilty, they may burst into tears, but there's no blood revenge and all that foolishness. And if he's found guilty, then the murderer's family, they have to accept it too. And the one thing that they spare their people out of the understanding of what civilized means. They don't hold public executions. And they trying to do away with executions, period. And they smart to do that. Because even when you kill that person who killed somebody, you still haven't killed the guilty party. Because that man wouldn't have committed that act if his mind had not instructed him to do that. And the body had no choice in it. The mind is the guilty party. And guess where he got that mind from? Got it from the very people, the society that he grew up in, made him what he is. So, if you want to save yourselves, you had better listen to me. You notice I'm the only one who could point that out to you, what I just shared with you. And you don't get no argument from nobody. What I say is plain truth. Now, listen at this man trying to snow you and me. First, he say he lost millions, but that was okay. Oh, hell, okay. If it was okay, then what you doing getting arrested for insider trading? That's the moment.
Of MS, who to this day struggle without life-saving treatments for their deadly disease. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am proud of my affiliation with Innate. I may have lost most of the money that I invested in the company, but I took the chance to bring relief to those who deal with the dreadful disease of secondary progressive MS every day.
He took the chance to make more money. Now, see, he's not being honest. He saw the chance to make more money. Now he want to try to make it look like he was just a liberal-minded man that wanted to help a lot of people. But it was all business. It's like when I went there and lost that $300 in 10 minutes to Vegas. It wasn't me going there saying that I was going to try to spread some wealth around or whatever. I was there trying to get rich quick and lost all my money, and I accepted that. Didn't like it, but I accepted it. You see? So, and when I got a few dollars more from back home, I lost that too. If I had my ticket, I'd have been stranded there. But I got out of there as quick as I could. Didn't never go back. But the point of the matter is, we don't, standing up there trying to tell him that he had the best of intentions and all of that. Watch the action. Look, don't just listen to what a person says. Look at what they do. Verbal communication and even written communication can sometimes be misunderstood. But deeds and actions cannot. It's just like with Donald Trump. One of the best moves he made was when he went to Helsinki with that summit meeting with Mr. Putin. Because if you didn't understand that he was under Putin's control with those tweets, because that could have been misinterpreted. He had a chance to straighten it all out. When he went over there, he could have, and the reporter gave him a chance when he asked him about Russia's interference in America's elections. And instead of him saying, yes, they interfered, and I have made it clear to President Putin that we will not tolerate that. And he has made it clear to me that he won't do that no more. Or something like that. He tells the reporter that I will let Mr. President Putin answer that question. What? The President of the United States is going to let Putin answer the question about Russia's meddling in America's election. So, okay. So you can't claim that you don't know what's going on. Yeah, you do. You know what's going on. You got people, I think they showed them on TV wearing some T-shirts saying he'd rather be better to be Russian than to be Democrat. Ain't that something? Anyway, look at this.
The charges that have been levied against me are meritless, and I will mount a vigorous defense in court to clear my name. I look forward to being fully vindicated and exonerated, ending.
Most people don't understand that the FBI does not make charges against you before they have evidence. More than likely, they had already talked to him and made him aware of the evidence that they had. And he might have lied to him. Huh? Now, I'm just telling you, it ain't like the police. The police sometimes arrest you for suspicion. The FBI, they don't move on just suspicion. That's what they investigate. That's why they investigate. To see if suspicions are what they think they are. Then when they get everything together, then it's all about, okay, you've been doing this, and here's you as doing that, and here you got it over here, and we got this on you, and we got that on you, and you know, you need to come with us. Huh? All right. Now.
Any and all questions relating to my affiliation with a nation. I've spent the last 10 years in public service as the Erie County Executive and as a member of Congress. I've also spent many years volunteering to give back to my community. Whether it was a member of the Federal Reserve Bank Small Business Advisory Council, member of the Board of Trustees of Kenmore Mercy Hospital, or as a longtime mentor to small businesses at the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership at SUNY UB. The public knows my dedication to Western New York. Because my focus is...
Yeah, but it's certain things that the public didn't know that the FBI found out. Do you understand? Okay, that's why it's always good. Remember this. It's always better to make sure that your public and your private face are the same. In other words, don't be a chameleon. Whatever your public agenda is, let it match up with your private agenda. In other words, be what you represent yourself as. Do you understand?
Defeat the charges in court. After today, I will not address any issues related to innate immunotherapeutics outside of the courtroom. As I fight to...
See, now what he just said was after today, he will not address things. But the fact of the matter is, watch what happens when he finishes. He just gave the press the impression that he was going to take questions, didn't he? Okay.
Clear my name, a longtime mentor to small businesses at the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership at SUNY UB. The public knows my dedication to Western New York. Because my focus is to defeat the charges in court, after today, I will not address any issues related to innate immunotherapeutics outside of the courtroom. As I fight to clear my name, rest assured, I will continue to work hard for the people and constituents of the 27th Congressional District of New York, and I will remain on the ballot running for re-election this November. Thank you very much, and have a great night.
Now, let me say to the members of the press that may be listening, or if you know somebody that's a member of the press, do this from now on when some of them crooks come out there. But that's a sign of a crook. When they come out there and start telling you that they want to have a press conference, tell them this. Yeah, I will come. But are you going to allow me to ask questions if I have any? See, he wanted to use the press to put his best posture out there and then leave. That was disrespectful. They didn't just show up there to hear him give a lecture. Don't let people do you like that. Now watch this.
Where there you see Congressman Chris Collins. He is Congressman from upstate New York who today was arrested and charged with securities fraud related to charges of insider trading on a drug company that you heard him talk about there in 8. He's a man who is a very fierce advocate for the President of the United States. His first congressional endorser. Today he laid out...
Now you see why he's an advocate for the President of the United States. All the crooks in the circle together. You find out Paul Manafort, him and Donald Trump, they go way back together. What was Manafort doing? Income tax evasion, fraud, bank fraud. Donald Trump bragged about how he borrowed money from banks and then tell them, if you don't make this deal with me, I'm gonna just go and declare bankruptcy. Why you think that Donald Trump sit there and said the American justice system is a joke? Why? Because how long had they been thinking they was getting away with just about anything, breaking all kind of laws? Okay, I watched this. You know, I'm an advocate for right. And I'm against wrong, and it don't make no difference who you are. The messenger said this about me. He said, the black man's nature makes him to tremble in fear when he knows that he's far off the path. He wasn't lying. You know, I ain't never forgot that I got in a fight with a brother. And I started it. The brother like broke my jaw. And I was in high school. And I heard his little brother, we was playing football. And I purposely heard him. Just so I could get into it with his brother. Because I figured I could outbox him. You know, I mean, you know, I grew up in a tough neighborhood, and we all got tough. That's all. But even while I was fighting him, I wasn't mad. I didn't have no reason to fight. Don't never get in a fight when you ain't got no reason to. Because you can't fight hard. And you bound to lose. Don't go around starting fights. When that brother hit me in my jaw like to knock me out, and he stopped. I mean, he could have wiped the floor with me at that time, at that point. Because I was groggy and standing up on my feet, couldn't hardly see. And something as good as said to me, you got what you deserved. And I did. I felt like I got what I deserved. Told you, I done been some of everything. I done experienced some stuff. So when I give you some advice, you would do well to take it. So this man, he stood up there and said all that. Now watch what they got on him.
Bit of an explanation, he says, of his long-standing backing of the company, and then did something that I don't think is going to work for that one, which was he said he would answer no more questions about the fact that he is currently facing federal felony charges, and was caught on tape at a White House congressional picnic on the phone at the time that the government says he was illegally tipping off his son and others that the drug company he'd invested in had failed to clear a key clinical trial, leading them to dump their stocks. For the latest on this remarkable turn of events and the charges against the president's first endorser, Congressman Chris Collins, I'm joined by Jonathan Dietz. He's the chief investigative reporter for WNBC here in New York. First, that press conference, did you think there was any chance he was going to resign?
No, he had said all day through his spokesman that he was going to stay in this race, that he was going to seek re-election, and that this indictment, these charges against him, were not going to stop him.
Let's start here and say this. He laid out in that press conference, it has been known around town that...
Now remember, this is one of the congressmen that they talking about that passed that tax bill that helped the rich and didn't give a damn about the poor people. Huh? I told you what drain the swamp meant. You thought he was talking about getting rid of all the crooks up there. He was talking about getting rid of your government. See, most people have forgot that Washington, D.C. is on a swamp. It was built on a swamp. That swamp was drained to put Washington there. Well, if you're talking about draining the swamp now, what are you talking about? You're talking about getting rid of Washington, D.C. Don't be surprised if you hear some of them now, they'll make things so bad and then they'll start talking about secession from the Union. Remember the breakup of the Soviet Union? Be careful. Next, they'll be talking about the breakup of the United States. Because that's what they would like to do. Like, look, if you was a tyrant and you knew that you could be the baddest thing on the block, if you could just get rid of that tough guy over there called the United States, what would you be trying to do? Okay. Now, don't say I didn't try to warn you. I did try to warn you. You just couldn't get past my black skin, so you wouldn't listen.
He has a relationship with this drug company. He was caught boasting once in the speaker's gallery saying, I made so many millionaires in Buffalo because of connecting people with this company. What is his relationship to the company?
Well, he sits on the board. He invested, it bought millions of shares and was selling at about 50 cents a share when he got that email at the White House advising him that the clinical trial in this company to come up with a cure or assist multiple sclerosis patients, that trial had failed, and that this drug was the only drug that this company was basically researching. This was the whole ball of wax.
You see that they got him in the circle there, in that circle of light there. That's him now texting his boys to sell. Huh? I thought he wasn't worried about the losses. He stood up there and said he lost millions, and he accepted that. Did he accept it? All right.
And as soon as he learned that, he apparently panicked to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney, saying he was called his relatives who had invested stock in this company and told them what the situation was, and they began selling. Over 1 million shares sold, and then after
the news became public that 50 cents a share of stock dropped 92% to just pennies on the dollar. And,
so the charging document is the guy who's arrested there, right?
That's right. He made himself in processed, fingerprinted mugshot.
So they're not really telling it like it really is. 50 cents a share of stock ain't nothing but penny stock. Junk stock. That man had a scheme going. Where can you find stock in a reputable company for 50 cents a share? The man was playing a game now. Selling junk stock. They need to call it what it is. When last time you went to looked on the Dow Jones and saw something down there for 50 cents a share? Go to the stock page and see how many 50 cents a share companies you see doing business on Wall Street. See, y'all need to check. You better stop trying to placate wrongdoing rich folks. Call it what it is. You call what Bernie Madoff, was that his name? You call his what it was, a Ponzi scheme. Penny stock is junk stock. He ain't never thought that stuff was that medicine was going to do anything. 50 cents a share. Do that sound like it had promise? Anyway, let's go back to it.
A sitting member, a Republican member of Congress, he serves on House and Energy Committee until today when he was kicked off, a prominent supporter of the president. Do we have the video of him, by the way, at the White House, or do we just have that we just showed? I mean, the charging document, he is at the White House congressional picnic.
That's right.
With the President of the United States last year. According to the charging document, he gets an email in his role as board member saying the trial failed, and then what does he do?
And then according to the FBI, our U.S. attorney, he started calling his son frantically. 6 calls in less than 5 minutes, and he couldn't get through. Finally, on the 7th attempt, the feds say he got through to his son and said, "This whole thing's going down. We need to do something." And within hours, his son was selling off his shares.
Now, what if the FBI had not been on their job? These is the kind of people that's sitting up there making laws to govern you and to put you in jail. Remember they famous line when they was talking about a woman who hadn't did nothing but serve this country, from being the first lady, from being a senator, from being the Secretary of State, and had never had this kind of criminal activity going on around her. Huh? How many people that was surrounding Miss Clinton and her husband, how many of their circle been indicted for anything? What was they saying? Lock her up. Lock her up. projecting whose guilt? Their own guilt. They were projecting it to her. And General Flynn come out there. He was hesitant at first. And he said, yeah, lock her up. Lock her up. That's right. Huh? Now, who are you finding out with facts? Who are the facts pointing to that need to be locked up? If they sign the pledge, they get to govern. Ain't that what Grover Norquist said? He said, and I helped make that happen. I help. Help who? So who is he representing? The big wigs who own all of them stations and stuff. They get out and put false information out and create fictitious identities for these people to make them look like they some reputable person, and then they put them in Congress, and then they pull their strings and tell them, now this is what I want you to bring to the floor, and this is what I want you to vote on, and this is what I want you to do. Even when the American people was against that big tax break that Donald Trump and them signed into law, the American people was against it. Why did it go through anyway? You think take back means one thing. To you, it means one thing. To them who's telling you you need to take, we're going to take the government back. They taking it back, all right. Can you imagine talking about moving or downsizing America's government to where it was in 1942 and in 1930? Here, America is a global power now, and you want to reduce America's government back down to the size that it was when it was just it was just a national government. What you actually doing is saying you want to take America's power away. So one thing you got to certainly do is you have to put a wedge between America and Canada, America and England, America and Germany, all of the allies that formed the governing seven. You are that's who stopped Hitler before. England, France, America, and the Germans realized that they had, this man, that man had, let me see, it became Hitler's Germany. And they trying to turn America into Trump's America. Now you talk about making you the butt of everybody's joke. You claimed you were a nation of laws, and they trying to turn you into a nation of men. Trump's GOP. You better back them people up in the FBI and quit tripping.
The son allegedly told other relatives, his fiance, his soon-to-be father-in-law, mother-in-law, who happens to be a certified public accountant, and they all began dumping their shares. Word of mouth spread among the close-knit relatives. 3 people charged today, the congressman, his son, and the would-be father-in-law.
And there's also unindicted co-conspirators that exist in the charging document.
Well, that answered the question about whether members of Congress can be indicted. I didn't hear you. Now, all of them that call themselves like that Jordan fella and that, what's that other fella, Nunes, and all of them that's call themselves gonna obstruct justice by investigating the FBI. Indictments need to come against them. Now, I'm just telling you. You know, they think that they done took over the government. But that's the one thing about a government that's based on laws. You can't overthrow that government as long as somebody is willing to stand up and execute the law. You see? That is a lesson that should reverberate from now until eternity. Let me explain something to you about the law. The law is like gravity. You know what happens when you've seen enough space movies. I know I looked at a lot of space movies. I can't talk with no authority like I've been out there, but I've seen what they show us. That if you're in space and you want to take a walk outside of the ship, you got to put on magnetic shoes. And then you walk out there. You better not make the mistake and say, I think I'm going to see what it's like to fly off here. And if you stupid enough to turn off that magnetism and then leap out there, when you get tired of going, that ain't going to help you, because now you have nothing to push off of. There is no atmosphere. So you can wave and wave and wave all you want. You're going to keep going. And you're going to keep going. And you're going to keep going. Because gravity is not present. You see, the law of America is gravity that will not allow people in authority or people in society to get but so far away from right, and the gravity will snatch them back. Huh? That's the value of the law. The law snatch you back, and it don't care who you are. You notice, gravity don't care because you the president and you up there in a plane. Jump out, and you gonna fall just as hard as any other fool who wants to jump out without a parachute. Huh? But if you can get enough people in there and start erasing laws, start undermining and cutting off laws, you're removing gravity. And you know what space is? It's a bottomless pit. And you got a lot of angels of the bottomless pit sitting up there in Congress. You notice a good example of that. You seeing all the crooked stuff that Mr. Gates is saying him and Mr. Manafort was doing. Well, then they was doing that while they was in the circle with Donald Trump. Right? And what happened when they got caught? Now, Donald Trump don't want nothing to do with them, right? Is that right? They out there, huh? Just floating away in the bottomless pit. See, that's the one thing about the Quran says about the devil. He says, and the devil ever deserts man. You notice every time your mind instructs you to do unlawful, immoral, and unethical things, it seems like you get all kind of ideas of how to do them. And then when you get caught, just like that man stopped, he got caught. Then his devils desert him. Then he stands up and says things that make no sense at all. It was all for you know, I lost millions, but you know, I accepted that. And all his actions say he didn't accept that. But he thinks that he can just put it over, stand up out there and say all of that stuff, and the press sitting up there like he's the president or something, and just they come into a special statement that the president wants to make or whatnot. He's a congressman. He claims he represents the people in a certain part of New York. Well, then the people the only way the people can actually be represented is that the press be able to ask questions of him, and the people hear how he answered the questions that the press asks. Is that right? Well, he didn't take no questions. So does he really work for the people? How you working for me and I can't question what you're doing? I mean, whoever you work for generally can question you about what you've been doing, can't they? That's a good example was Satan himself. Now, he powerful, ain't he? He came to present himself before the Lord, and the Lord asked Satan, where you coming from? And Satan answered the Lord. He didn't say, I ain't got time to talk to you. Satan said, from going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down in it, doing what you told me I should be doing. Then the Lord asked him another question. Have you checked Job out over there? They had a continued conversation until the Lord told Satan what to do next. Isn't that right? That's how you know who Satan was working for. Don't your boss tell you how long to work? But look, I need you to work. Instead of working just these 5 days, I want you here tomorrow, and you're gonna be working overtime tomorrow. Is that right? What did the Lord say to Satan? 6 days shall you labor and do all of your work. All right. Well, now, yeah, these people supposed to be working for the people of New York. This congressman say he worked for the people of New York, but he didn't want to answer no questions for the press of New York. Now, how does that work? You better wake up. You about to let these nuts kill the goose that's been laying the golden eggs, man.
That is correct.
So there was a number of people that were sort of in this circle.
Yes, and the Securities and Exchange Commission named some of them, which is the would-be father-in-law, the would-be mother-in-law, and the fiance. They were not charged criminally, the fiance and her mother, but they did have to pay the money back, the ill-gotten gains, and the CPA will not be working as a CPA for the next 5 years.
Now, as individuals just saw there, the congressman says he did nothing wrong. And that he has acted adhering to ethical and legal standards at all times, and he won't be taking any more questions. But I guess the behavior that is outlined in this indictment, if it is true, is shockingly brazen. I mean, he's just on his regular phone. He's calling people. I mean, this is a very bedrock principle of insider trading. Like, you cannot do that.
According to the FBI, they have the phone records, they have the trading records, they have all of that circumstantial evidence that they say is a clear and convincing case. We'll see. The congressman denies any wrongdoing. The FBI today at their press conference said this guy sitting on this board knew better, should have known better, and he's in a position of power. And they had an insider tip for him and others like him. They said, don't do it, tell the truth. They also say he lied to them when they questioned him, and that's another charge in the indictment.
We should say finally here that
didn't I tell you that they more than likely had questioned? Didn't I tell you that they more than likely had questioned him? They don't just come up and charge you out of the blue. They talk to you. And he lied. Who is this? Who is that unmuting their phone?
Yeah, she motherfucking dead. Shut the fuck up, retard.
To hell with you.
I'm not the fuck up, retard. Shut the fuck up, nigga.
Yeah. Yeah. To hell with you. Amen. Amen. And amen. You ain't got to let him stay in here so the people can hear him. You dog. He even sounded like an old dog when he first started, didn't he? I know you wish I was a nigga. But anyway, you see how when you bring the truth out on people, the only one cackle is the one that's guilty, ain't it? There you go. You see, white folks, that wasn't no black man, that was a white man. I told you they ain't listening. Yeah, he listening. Now he in hell. And you ain't gonna get out either. Yeah. You put him out. Yeah? I don't want you to put him out. I want him to see that he barked up the wrong tree this time, buddy. Now let's hear some more of this.
it was the Southern District of New York charged this. They are the ones that have kind of their portfolio is financial crime, Securities and Exchange Commission, securities fraud. It's a individual, a Donald Trump nominee who is occupying the SDNY office right now, correct?
It was a temporary. He was actually put in place by the chief judge of the district because the president did not get these nominees through the Senate quickly enough.
Right.
So it wound up the individual judges, chief judge in the Southern District actually appointed Mr. Berman permanently.
And Mr. Berman has been appointed to the role, and today was quite clear that we follow the facts, regardless of policy.
And that no one is above the law, and that if there's evidence you violated the law, you will be prosecuted, and that's what they said today.
It's a really remarkable story. If people want to go and download that indictment.
It's amazing. In that video, like you said, on the White House lawn, apparently reading the emails, and then on the White House lawn, making frantic phone calls to his son, the allegations, pretty amazing.
Caught on tape, allegedly committing insider trading at the White House. WNBC's Jonathan Dees, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
All right. You see, all the crooks, you finna get what you got coming. Oh, yeah. You can get mad, it don't make no difference. You gonna get what you got coming.
Fuck up, old man. I'll beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, well, I live at 5306 Red Lick Road, Lorman, Mississippi. You come on and visit, devil. So you see what I'm talking about? No nasty mouth dog. He come in our religious service, come in a scriptural discussion, and listen at his filthy mouth. What did the scripture say? Their mouths are filled with cursing and bitterness.
Hey, can you
And the poison of asps is under their lips.
Hey,
And the only reason I'm still talking to him is because I wanted to show the people that that dog is still in here, listening. He can't help himself. And so this is the kind of thing that you call yourself mad with me about? You mad with me over a man like that? Now you put him out and let him be in hell. Now, just put him on out of here. See? There you go. Now let's get on back to this. Let's see, I was getting ready to go to another one here. Yeah, right here. That's it.
Member of Congress, this seems like a fairly clear case. Maybe the government is wrong in key facts and they won't be able to prove it, but on its face, looks pretty damning.
It does. Pretty open and shut, black and white.
Now, this is one thing. We've got a lot more. So I just want to take a step back because it's been a busy news day. We just came off the Chris Collins news conference. This is the first endorser of the president. Today, also, you have the deputy campaign manager for the president of the United States conducting and finishing his testimony in a court of law in which he testified under oath about the campaign manager.
Now, look how much they know about that man. He was the first endorser of Donald Trump. The first one in Congress to endorse Donald Trump. Huh? Is it coming together for you? The chessboard? The chess pieces? Okay. Now watch this.
The United States in a bank fraud tax evasion case and talked about all of the crimes they did together, all of the intentional actions they took to hide information from the government, to defraud banks to increase the amount of money they had access to. He also confessed on the stand to stealing from the man that he worked for to the tune of a lot of money. You also have the president's longtime lawyer and associate Michael Cohen has been raided by the FBI, who's gone a little silent. He's awaiting his fate one way or the other. Another associate of the president, Roger Stone, we know an associate of his is going to testify before a grand jury on Friday. And the president himself has his lawyers back and forth attempting to avoid a sit-down interview with the prosecutor who's looking into the president's campaign and the possibility of the president obstructing justice. When's the last time such a vortex of alleged and confirmed criminal activity spun around the United States president?
Well, Watergate, and I remember it. And the tentacles, like an octopus, the tentacles were spreading. And here, it's the same thing. And it's very, very sad. I never wanted to see that happen again, and here we see it. And very disturbing, particularly the fact that the president, on the one hand, it's kind of a flim-flam, I want to talk to the special prosecutor, I want to talk to Robert Mueller, but in the end has been obstructing and obfuscating and refusing. It's kind of being a wimp.
Yeah, is that your take on this?
Yes.
We keep getting these blow-by-blow,
He's never going to go before this Robert Mueller to talk because it's too dangerous. The president is an inveterate, prevaricator, liar, systematic. I don't even know if he knows the difference between the truth and falsity. So the fact of the matter is it's very dangerous for him to go forward. He's told so many different stories about so many different things, even 2 different stories about this Trump Tower meeting. And what it does is reminds me of Watergate. And we're getting to a very, very, very close and tense time for him. Because they think, I think, Giuliani, that if the president doesn't come forward and testify, that Mueller's just going to give up. Mueller can serve a subpoena, and that's the subpoena in Watergate for the tapes is what ultimately triggered the downfall of Richard Nixon. And I don't know how the President of the United States can claim that he is innocent if there's a subpoena and refuse to testify, refuse to come forward. What's he hiding if he's so innocent? Why is he hiding? This is really something that the American people have to confront. We have a President of the United States who's accused of obstructing justice, not actually formally accused, but many people think he's been involved with obstructing justice. Many people think he's been involved in some kind of nefarious way with the Russians. Why doesn't he clear this up and come and talk to the special prosecutor? His refusal to do that should be some indication that he's got a lot to hide. And that's what ultimately happened in Watergate. Nixon kept saying, oh, I'm innocent. But ultimately, what happened was the American people saw that when he didn't want to turn over the tapes, it was because there was incriminating material on the tape. So if the president doesn't want to come forward, if he's not going to be candid with the criminal justice authorities of the United States, it's because he's got something very serious, if not criminal, to hide.
Do you think ultimately that you think they're trying to play out the string and that they hope Mueller would give up? I mean, there's this reporting that the president wants to testify or talk to Mueller, but his lawyers don't want to because they're afraid he'll perjure himself.
Right. Big boy. He can't make his own decision. He's only the president of the United States, and he can't make his own decision.
Boy, that was rich, wasn't it? I mean, the woman said, big boy. He's the president of the United States and can't make his own decision about whether he want to talk to the investigator or not. Ain't that something? You see, a lot of you, like I tell people all the time, you notice when a judge sentences you to jail, you can go out cussing and swearing and all that, but you still going to jail. You see, now, when that boy that you hear keep coming in here, saying these little things, you won't hear from him after a while. He ain't gonna be able to sleep after a while. That little part of his head there, that forehead of his, it's gonna feel tight in there. And you know how you try to relax your forehead? Sometimes you can let him go. And that forehead gonna feel tight. He ain't gonna be able to relax his forehead. Then it's gonna dawn on him that he messed with the wrong one. You see? So I won't say nothing else to him. He can, I'm through talking to him. He had his opportunity. That's hell too. If I refuse to talk to you, you can forget it.
That's a good point. Like the lawyers work for him. It's just not believable. I mean, the fact of the matter is they're worried that he's going to perjure himself because he doesn't know how to tell the truth. That's a pretty damning commentary in and of itself. We have a president who can't be trusted to tell the truth under oath. Pretty serious.
Elizabeth Holtzman, who's seen a version of this show before.
Think over that. Now, let me give you further proof that what she was saying, it wasn't lies. It was the truth. Listen to this.
Prominent black Americans, he's just impugned the intelligence of LeBron James and Don Lemon, which echoes the way he singled out the IQ of Congresswoman Maxine Waters or the academic credentials of Barack Obama, attacks that come on the anniversary of the Charlottesville White Power rallies that Trump partially defended. Now, tonight we have a special conversation with two political analysts with some opposing views on Trump's approach to race, a celebrated progressive academic and a conservative activist who's been hailed by the president himself. Donald Trump's views and rhetoric on race, we should note, are not original. The Manhattan media mogul is known more for echoing other cultural warriors than writing his own lines. It goes well beyond the Reagan slogan, "Make America Great Again." We should note Trump echoes former Nixon aide Pat Buchanan, who ran on a platform of taking back the culture from immigrants and minorities.
Block by block, my friends, we must take back our cities and take back our culture and take back our country.
Is that a coded racial appeal? Donald Trump argued yes, at least when his political ambition required competing with Buchanan. You know, back in 2000, one of the many times that Trump flirted with running for president, they were up against each other for a nomination on the Reform Party ticket, and Trump blasted Buchanan as a bigot.
He's a Hitler lover. I guess he's an anti-Semite. He doesn't like the blacks. He doesn't like the gays. It's just incredible that anybody could embrace this guy.
His views are so far off, and what he wrote in his book is so bad, anti-Semitic, anti-black, anti-gay.
Those are some of the very terms Trump's critics now use against him. And within a decade of saying that, it was Trump who invoked racist birtherism to attack the first black president, and then found a lot of fuel in stealing Buchanan's lines rather than calling him anti-black anymore. So before we begin, take a look at the receipts.
Hundreds and thousands every single night walk across that border into the United States of America, ignoring our laws, ignoring our border.
Illegal immigrants pouring into our country, bringing with them crime, tremendous amounts of crime.
Today we call for a new patriotism, where Americans begin to put the needs of Americans first.
We are finally putting America first.
For tonight's discussion, we're joined by conservative activist Candace Owens. She's with Turning the USA, and she argues African Americans are doing better under the Trump presidency. She's drawn.
That's one of Donald Trump's proteges. What was that other woman that said they was going to be on their knees to Trump before it was over with? He gave her the boot, Omarosa. You see how, let me say this. This is something that is embarrassing. Now, the one thing you don't see in the white woman and the white man, you don't see the white woman just outright and downright get out there and disrespect the white man on TV. She just don't do that. And he don't do that to her. You understand? I mean, even when Miss Clinton was arguing with Donald Trump, did you notice how she was restrained in how she conducted herself in that argument? She was careful not to insult his manhood and all of that kind of stuff. And, sometimes she even acted more like his mother than what you call it, because she's just careful of the image that she allows to be put out there, to go out, I should say, of the white woman and the white man. And that is something that we do well to learn. You see, I notice now that you can tell that many of our women, they have respect for me now. They don't come in here and try to do the things that they used to do. And I'm not the person who don't have respect for women. I respect a woman. But at the same time, I know that if we waited on you, sister, to free us, we would never get free. It's not in you to free a man. It's not in a woman to teach a man how to be a man. How can you teach me how to be what you never was? God made man in his image. And it is in the Word of God where I learned how to be a man. I didn't learn how to be a man from my mother. You don't see me trying to emulate the woman while I'm standing here. And when you see me in my daily activities. You see, so, but watch this.
No one gives a shit about your mom, you fucking bag.
Brother.
And Kanye West, who has praised Trump. Well, the president also hailed her impact and contribution to this dialogue. On the other side, we have Georgetown professor Michael Eric Dyson, a nationally recognized expert on civil rights, who argues Trump is emboldening white supremacists. He's the author of 21 books, including What Truth Sounds Like. Thank you both for doing this discussion.
Thank you for having us.
Candace, when you look at that rhetoric and you look at what appears to be a shift in the way Donald Trump talks, do you think he is embracing a type of racial division that is problematic for us to operate as a civil society?
Well, the first thing that I look at is the date of the tapes. It's remarkable that we are pulling tapes and you've gone into the archives and we're looking at the year 2000. I think people are entitled to evolve their thoughts over 18 years.
Now, even that, it shows you that the young lady, she looked like she's maybe 20, 25 years old. Now here she's on there and don't understand how you find out what a person is about. If you disregard history, then you don't know what to think about anyone. You see, it's just like with me. If you want to know what I'm about, you need to check my history. Not just what you see me doing now. You need to check out what I was doing 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. That will show you whether or not I am someone that is stable or someone who's just trying to find out what works and do it. You see, you know, if you're going to follow a man, don't you think you should try to find out who it is you following? If you're going to support somebody, don't you think you need to know who it is you supporting? I mean, if you say 10 years ago you was thinking this way, and today you thinking this way, or something different, totally different than what you were saying 10 years ago, then how do I know to trust you to adopt what you thinking right now? Because maybe 10 years from now, you be done threw that away. Leaders are not made, they are born. You notice, I'll show you an example. A computer is a good aid, but it cannot take the place of a head. Heads are not made, they are born.
Hi, Rachel.
There you go. You know what to do. You see? Let me explain something to you. You know, Pluto is way out there, approximately 4,600,000,000 miles away from the sun. But when it come into view, they see it's still circling the sun. You see, now if I'm not the sun, why do all these people who say they disagree with me, why can't they leave my circle? They can't argue with me, but yet they can't leave. It's because of the gravity of what I teach. Do you understand? So all praise is due to Allah. So now here she was invited on there to have a discussion. Now watch how she conducts herself.
The second thing that I think is quite remarkable here is that we're talking about racial division and what shows racial division. I think the fact that every time I'm invited onto this network, I'm being asked to dispute another Black person. The Black community is broken up.
Have you seen her on there before? What does she mean every time she's invited on the network? She's trying to give the impression that she's been on there over before, like more than once, right? More than twice, because she said every time you invite me, right? Now, she's misrepresenting, you know, that's what happens to everybody that gets in the circle with Donald Trump. They learn how to lie, if not openly, by insinuation. See, now she just insinuated that she's a regular on MSNBC, right? All right, now watch this. Well, watch this.
In general, and I don't want to partake in any of that. We're just ending a weekend. We're 70.
It's very important. It's very important that you hear how he introduces her. And then she goes off the rails. I mean, he kept his cool. Ari kept his cool. But, I mean, she acted like he hadn't said nothing about why she was on there. Now, watch this.
For doing this discussion.
Thank you for having us.
What appears to be a shift in the way Donald Trump talks, do you think he is embracing a type of racial division that is problematic for us to operate as a civil society?
Well, the first thing that I look at is the date of the tapes. It's remarkable that we are pulling tapes and you've gone into the archives and we're looking at the year 2000. I think people are entitled to evolve their thoughts over 18 years. The second thing that...
Now, she's not answering his question. She came on there with a prepared speech. No, just listen.
I think is quite remarkable here is that we're talking about racial division and what shows racial division. I think the fact that every time I'm invited onto this network, I'm being asked to dispute another Black person. The Black community is broken up in general, and I don't want to partake in any of that. We're just ending a weekend where 71 Black people were shot.
Did nobody ask her to dispute another Black person? Do you understand? She's doing that on her own. The man asked her about was Trump exacerbating the race issue in America? And then she's on there acting like she didn't know why she was invited on there. Now, just listen to her answer, because it gets kind of way out.
In Chicago, 13 of them killed, and we're not talking about that. Instead, we're talking about old.
We're going to talk about all of it. You have a problem?
No, we're not. I have a problem that we're doing wall-to-wall.
You have a problem with who you're appearing on?
No.
Now, what's the first thing you learn when you are a guest on someone's broadcast or whatnot? When the commentator or when the person who invited you to come on goes to speak, you be quiet. So she disrespect the commentator. And she's disrespecting us. Of course, now they went and found her. Now, just watch this. Michael Dyson should have just excused himself from that. But anyway, just listen.
Candace, do you have a problem with who you're pairing the segment with?
I'm respectfully saying to him that we should both decline tearing apart the Black community for the sake of television. And because MSNBC always invites me on to do that, I'm declining to do so.
If she was declining to come on to do that, what's she doing sitting there? You see how, you got to really listen to people when they're talking. And then you pretty soon realize that something else going on here. Now, I wonder how much she was paid by the Trump people. But anyway, just listen.
Our community is mourning the 71 people that were shot over the weekend. We need to stop this warfare and come together and talk about things that matter. And what is going on in Chicago is a bigger topic and should be a bigger topic on this network than what Trump said 18 years ago, whether or not it means that people change over 18 years, which, shocker guys, they do.
Well, I'm going to have the professor respond, but I have to respond on behalf of myself. You knew what you were invited to discuss, and we're happy you're here. It's very important to me in this show that we have these conversations and invite a lot of people of all perspectives. If there's a problem with that, I think you knew what the invite was to begin with. Professor.
Now, how did that make her look? But Trump will pat her on the head and tell her, you did good. You know, this is the messenger said this about our people. He said the most degreed ones is the most diseased ones. You know, the very thing that she was saying she wanted to avoid was what she was doing. Watch how she disrespects Michael Dyson, which he kind of, he never should have, once he realized the level of her understanding, he should have just left that alone. But anyway, watch this.
Dyson, your thoughts? Well, look, we're dealing with a person who has not only radically emboldened the prospects of bigotry in this country, the resurgent, recrudescent hate that he has articulated. If you can't beat him, coin him. So he opposes Pat Buchanan on the one hand when it's to his own political advantage, and then subsequently when the real beliefs emerge from Mr. Trump, we see that his vicious animus toward black people, gay people, Mexicans, Muslims, women, and the like is a kind of cornucopia of hate that has been brashly articulated by a man of manifest lack of serious coherence, chaotic intelligence, and the lack of an ability to really express himself by not only pulling upon the strands of history, but refusing to take into consideration what's going on today. So I think in one sense, if we're going to talk about if we're going to be honest about Donald Trump, he has not helped black people. He has not enabled African-American people to move forward. He's riding a crest and a wave of economic prosperity put in place by his predecessor, Barack Obama. He has refused to acknowledge the central.
What he's saying there is absolutely true. Trump inherited a good economy, an economy that was steadily adding more and more jobs. He didn't create that. That was already in motion when he came into office. Well, you going to reinvent history now? You going to rewrite the history to make it look like that's his doing? No, just watch.
Of police brutality and unarmed black people being assaulted.
What is she smiling about? Happy to be on TV and happy to be able to be there to disrespect a black man. Now just watch. You see. I ain't just saying that, and you see.
People in this country. So the reality is that Donald Trump, while claiming through rhetoric to be for the blacks, what he has done is undermine the capacity of African American people to exist in a country where it's not only about the economic facts and the wherewithal that we contend with, it is about the tone, it is about the rhetoric, it is about the atmosphere that has been unleashed here. And Donald Trump has done something very dangerous and destructive. He can't see the difference between an anti-fascist and a person who supports it. He can't see the difference between somebody who's against black people and who is for them. So when he draws false equivalencies between both sides, he negates the ability to say, look, I believe in rational civil discourse in America, but I take a side morally and politically. We are now 53 years to the day.
For a quick second.
53 years, let me finish this. 53 years.
Now she starts talking while the man has the floor. You see what she did? You know, did he interrupt while she was saying what she had to say? Now, just watch it. I mean, they should know how it goes. I mean, that's the way they do it in that world. You know, if one talks, then the other talks, and the moderator tells which one to talk next, right? Now she's taking the moderator's place. But just wait.
Beyond the date of the voting, let me finish this. We'll go to the professor, and then we'll go back to you, Candace. Professor Dyson, you can finish, and then we'll go back to Candace. Here we are, 53 years past the Voting Rights Act. We've seen the resurgence of an attempt to nullify and destroy that black vote. We've seen attempts to somehow circumnavigate around black political citizenry and agency. So all I'm saying is, if we're concerned about black people, we've got to be concerned about poverty, inequality, lack of access to education, plus the kinds of sorts of violence that we see directed toward black people in this country.
The conversation, sorts of violence that's being directed towards black people. Am I black? I'm curious if I'm black, because I'm a black conservative, and I am not hearing anything that is said about the fact that about 25 white Democrats assembled to kick me out of a restaurant yesterday, to throw water and to throw eggs at me because I am a conservative that supports.
If you ask that woman what is a conservative, she don't have the slightest clue. Because if she thinks Donald Trump is a conservative and people who are like him are conservatives, she lives in a dream world. The new term for racist is conservative. Just like the new term for Tea Party is Republican. These people have hijacked a political party and called it by the same name, but it's not the same party. A lot of those who were truly Republicans, they quit that party. They say they don't recognize it anymore. Well, that's what happens when you go to sleep on the watch and you allow people to become part of what you are just for the sake of numbers. The Holy Quran says, when you see people joining the religion in large numbers, it says, seek refuge in Allah. Yes. Because it's just like waves that come to shore, and they leave all types of seaweed and stuff on the shore. You go out on the beach in the morning early and you see a bunch of seaweed and stuff all over the beach. And then them same waves come in and take that stuff back out. You see? And you have to be careful of how you grow. It's one thing to grow. Everything that's alive likes to have company. You notice the human body, we want our children to grow. We wanted ourselves to grow when we were still a growing human being. But as you reach a certain maturity, then you must guard your intake lest you start growing and being harmed by that growth in the way of fat. You understand? So it is with everything that's alive. You must eat according to need, and you must grow according to need also. You see? And so you have people that thought that everybody that joined the party that's a good thing. Next thing you know, they took over the party and took it in a direction that it never was meant to go in. Conservative used to mean slow to change. That's what conservative used to mean. That's why you had the left and the right, and then they would talk and meet somewhere in the middle. Says it's all right for change, but let's not try to change too fast lest we mess up something. You know, so let's do it in increments. You know, because we want the country to stay strong, conservative. But at the same time, we know that the history of this country is that it is a country that is composed and made up of immigrants. Everyone in America is an immigrant except, and even the Native American, he was sent over here in exile 15,000 or 16,000 years ago. This part of the earth was considered the worst part of the earth. And it was not settled. It was no civilizations over here until recently. But America is that prophetic nation that Almighty God brought into being and enabled it to become one of the greatest nations that had ever been on the earth. And the one thing that made it great was that it had people from all over the world in it, working together as one, and became the greatest nation on earth. That was Allah's way of showing you what humanity could be. For America is just the microcosm of the whole planet. You find people of Japanese heritage here. You find people of Chinese heritage here. You find people of the continent of Africa, African heritage here. You find people from the islands. You find people from everywhere, right here in America. And when the people of America work together, there's not a nation on earth that can equal this country. And they know it. Even in the 36 Olympics or whenever that was, all of the flags of all of the nations when they walked in front of Hitler, they dipped their flag. And you know, in recognition of Hitler up there and stand. When the Americans walked by, they did not dip their flag. They took their caps off and put their caps over their hearts, and the flag stayed up because America's flag didn't dip to nobody. And Hitler didn't say a word. He stood there and kept that salute of his going. And he didn't complain that America's flag didn't dip to him. So, you know, it's just like, you know, the fool that I was just entertaining for a minute there. You know, if he was any kind of man, I would have had a conversation with him like I did with the national director of the Ku Klux Klan. I'm not trying to tell people they got to love me. Ain't nobody got to love you. But if you want respect, then you have to show yourself to be respectful. Even the national director of the Klan he didn't come in here cursing and disrespecting me. And he came back twice. So you who are viewing us on the TV in Detroit, you know we're about to go off the air in Detroit. I don't like to oversport myself up there. You may want to come into the conference rooms and continue to listen, or get us on the internet. The brother will put the link that you can get to us on the internet, and you can continue to hear what I have to say. I'm not going to be that much longer, but I want you to see that, you know, poor little sister. I mean, she's, you know, just a child in her understanding. You see, I've seen young ladies like that get gamed on. I've watched that all my life. Because mostly you can game on any woman if you got enough money. And you know, and you catch her young enough, because they respect stuff that you give them and that kind of thing. You know, you do praise them or whatever, and you just about win them over. And so now she's there doing the bidding of Donald Trump. Now, she's going to even accuse Michael Dyson of somehow attacking her. That man didn't attack her, but she attacked him. Watch this.
Donald Trump, the very same Donald Trump, okay? The very same Donald Trump that has, not Obama, Obama did not do this, because President Trump has been slashing regulations and has brought this.
You hear what she said? Yes, sir. Say President Obama did not do this. Donald Trump, yes, he has been slashing regulations. And you're going to pay a price for it too. Just like all them lack of regulations on Wall Street is what caused the economy to crash in the first place. Because the thing that all of them said, there was no regulations against, there was no law against what we did. You wanted people to go to jail, but you couldn't put people in jail for non-existent laws. They hadn't broke a law because there was no law against what they was doing. Well, they put regulations against what they was doing. Donald Trump took them away. But, you know, it's just like this. She reminded me of Fanta. when Kunta, Kinte, and Fanta got put in slavery. When he saw Fanta again, she was all dressed up in petticoats and all that stuff, and he just looked at her. You know. Well, I'm gonna tell you something, sister. All of you that think like her, you can go on to the white man. I don't want you. If you don't want me, I don't want you. You know, and I'm not gonna spend no bunch of time going back and forth with you. You're in love with people who enslaved us and mistreat us, and then you come out there and attack us for them? Then you go and you try to say that President Obama didn't do nothing? Got it just the opposite. Trump, the one ain't did nothing. I noticed he didn't throw his hat in the ring when all that stuff was, the bottom was falling out of everything. How come he didn't run for president then?
To a place that has never been at, okay? We have unemployment that's an all-time low for both women. You brought up women, you brought up gays, you brought up black people. Unemployment is at an all-time low across the board. You guys refuse to acknowledge the truth that we are doing better. You want to talk about fascists? Antifa attacked me. This is an all-white gang that attacked me and attacked an all-black police force in Philadelphia, okay? And they claim to be fighting racism. How is it plausible, Professor, that you allow this to happen to your community because you decided that because we are ideologically conservative, you're okay with this?
Now, what is she attacking him for? Did he say he was okay with any of that? She was sent on there by the Trump people to do just what she's doing. Now, just listen.
First of all, I haven't said a word.
Don't cut me off. You just said a lot of words.
I didn't say a word. No.
And he tell her, I ain't said none of that. And she just said a lot of things. You said a lot. What is that about? No, you try to pull that mess on me, I'm going to throw your behind in the hell. You ain't hear no intelligent white people come in here, call themselves getting on me for something I said. Because I don't say things that it's not true. Every now and then you hear a fool. And it don't take you long to figure out you listening to a fool. As soon as he opens his mouth, you know you're dealing with a fool.
About you.
Now you're cutting me off.
Nothing
okay.
about you.
No.
I what happened to you.
See now, Mr. Dyson should not have bought into that. He should have just let her go on and talk. Because Ari didn't stop it, which he should have. But, you know, I told you, I'm the only one of your kind that can stand up here and not embarrass you. I can speak for you on any subject matter. I can represent our people. And you won't have to go away saying, I messed up. Because I'm the true head of black people, which makes me the true head of all people, since all people came out of black people. And I want you to hear one more thing. You notice I'm the only leader that give out my phone number and address on the air. You know anybody else that's doing that? Okay, now listen to this. Just give me a minute. I'm getting it on up to.
Stand before you. Easy to remember. I have just
As professional people, you're on this paper that I'm looking for. Don't be surprised if you don't receive a letter from me. I would like to like you, you like me. My address is 4847 Woodlawn.
You heard him? What did he say? He said, my address is 4847 Woodlawn. You heard him give his address, right? Now listen to this.
4847 South Woodlawn. My telephone number is also very easy to remember. Drexel 30234. Just start counting. You got my telephone number.
That's the way we used to give telephone numbers out way back. It's like in California, we used the term Lorraine. L-O, that was 56, you know. LO 47637. And that was the phone number. But we say Lorraine 40637. You know, that kind of thing. And so the messenger gave out his address and his phone number. Are you surprised that I do the same? You know why the other ones don't do that? They're scared that they'll get a call from me and I let you hear the phone call that I made to them, and they would be in our meeting whether they wanted to or not. You see, and I'd call them and tell them I have, tell them who I am. And I say, got your number here. And I call you to question you about something you've been teaching. And so they don't want to give out their phone number. You know, like that boy who was doing all that big talk just now. Did he give out his phone number and address? You see? So, you know, these people, they ain't about nothing. You see? So, you know, you following people that you can't call. You know, my followers, if somebody call themselves getting into it with them or whatever, they say, just a minute. You say, you know, say, son of man, I got a brother here that seemed to have a problem with something that you're teaching or whatnot. And what happened? You see? Then how come your leader and teacher don't give you his phone number so that when I say something about him, you can get him on the phone? My followers get me on the phone when people come talking crazy about me. Even when people talk crazy to them, sometimes they know I done told them don't be out there arguing with nobody. So I'll do your arguing for you. Get him on the phone. Let me talk to him. And I don't come in there like a bull in a china shop either. I say, yes, sir, brother, what is it? Or yes, ma'am, what is the problem? So this is the Son of Man. Now, what did you want to talk to me about? Or what was that you were saying? I got witnesses. I don't come in there immediately ready to, let's just say, breathing fire and brimstone. No. You know, I don't just naturally assume that a person is wrong simply because they disagree with me. I got to hear their disagreement first. It is a pretty big universe, ain't it? You notice when I get ready to pray, I say, I know of none that deserves to be served or worshiped beside thee. Huh? Well, then that leaves room that if something or someone deserves to be served or worshiped besides him, they can make themselves known. Is that right? So I'm just a little fella. I like to make sure that I make things clear. Now, you see how out of order she was. I mean, and the only thing I fought Mr. Dyson for was trying to carry on a conversation, an adult conversation with a child. Once he found out that he was on the other side of a panel from a child, it was time to say, well, okay, you know, we'll take this up some other time. Huh? But watch how they went off. And this is why the older people used to say that if a wise man argues with a fool or a child, the listeners will not be able to tell which is which. Huh?
I'm going to let you for 5 minutes straight. You are attacking your
argument. Finish, but if you're calling down my professor, I have to give him time. So Candace, go ahead.
Liberals have been attacking conservatives, and you guys say nothing about it. Blacks were attacked yesterday, okay? And they were attacked because they support Donald Trump. Black support for Donald Trump has doubled since this time last year. You guys can try to pretend that he is pushing in a racist era in this country.
Didn't I tell you that it was a whole lot of black people supporting Donald Trump? What'd you just find out? Farrakhan helped make that happen. You know what the messenger said about that? He told you what was going to happen. The people like Farrakhan and, you know, Wallace the one started it all, because Wallace the one that manifested that, you know, Farrakhan, he had another agenda. And that's why he started standing up there talking about the messenger meant for Wallace to take his place and all that kind of stuff. Lying! All of them stood up there saying that. Now, watch this. Just a moment. Let me cut this off and come back to it later. I got it. Y'all give me a minute. I'm going. There. All right. All right. Let's see here. I like to give you proofs of things that I say. See, so when I see people doing what these people have been doing, I think over what the messenger said was going to be done, and it sets my mind at ease. It's taking a little while on my computer here. Give me a minute.
So that you can put your this servant in worship.
It is not that Allah, God will stay among us in worship, but he raises up one. Just like himself having the same idea. I don't want to see one of you lose your life, but you are taxing death when you're trying to bring the work of God with me to an altar. You're inviting death. I was so shamed when I was told what you are trying to do in the East. Where that I'm preparing a way for the whole nation. You don't want to prepare a way for yourself alone. So leave us alone, brother. If you don't like us, just leave us alone.
Now you notice, he wasn't talking to somebody who was outside of the nation. He was talking to people in the nation. And he was talking to one in particular. You know which one was over there running around over there with Gaddafi and what's his name? Saddam Hussein and all the rest of them over there. Huh? Minister Farrakhan, yes, that was you. As he said, you think Allah that I only have power in Chicago and he haven't given me none over New York? He said that Allah gave him authority over the whole thing. He said, so leave us alone, brother. If you don't like us, just leave us alone. Just listen.
I'm the last man to take an attempt to pull you out of the power of the white man and put you in the power of the I'm the last. There's no other one coming. The others that will come, they're coming to destroy you for not listening to what I'm teaching.
Okay, you heard her say it's a lot of black people supporting Donald Trump. Remember that? Well, okay. Who helped them start supporting him? Farrakhan? Somebody that they thought was giving them good advice? Yeah. Even after he saw what Donald Trump was going around the country doing, disrespecting us and saying President Obama was not born in America and all that kind of thing. And just lying and stoking the fires of racism. Then he comes out talking about he admires Donald Trump, that he's self-funding his campaign. Was he self-funded? He was lying about that. Oh, but you wouldn't listen to me. You listened to another liar. Man stood up there lying, talking about the first he lied and said the messenger chose WD. Then he come back lying, talking about the messenger meant for him to take his place. Lying. No, I don't hate the man. I hate what he doing. I don't know who you think you're supposed to be that somebody can't point out when you wrong. If you don't want nobody to point out you're wrong, then stop doing wrong. And so you see the result of what happened.
When in fact we know the Democrats are the racists, have always been the racists. The party's never stripped.
If the Democrats are the racists, why did they let a black man run on their ticket for president? You see how that's just stupid. I mean, quoting Donald Trump from, you know, what do you got to lose with me? The Democrats ain't done nothing for you. The Democrats gave the black people the first black president. It's like saying the Brooklyn Dodgers hadn't done nothing for black people when they gave you the first black man in professional baseball that opened the door for you to make all them millions of dollars playing baseball. Jackie Robinson. So, you know, I mean, that's crazy. But it's easy to tell a child a lie about history, especially if you got a TV show and you got a bunch of stuff that you letting the child play with and all that kind of stuff. Child say, he's nice. Huh? You see, so, you know, trying to argue with someone like that is a futile, that's futile. Because she's not listening to what you're saying no way, because you notice when she responded, it didn't have nothing to do with what he said. She took the things that some of the things he brought up and made it look like he had made accusations that he hadn't made. Do you understand? But watch.
And you should know this as a civil rights person. You know the history. You know the people under the hood of the KKK. More Democrats, and the party never switched.
Candace, I'm going to give the professor a chance to respond.
Yesterday and defend our community being attacked because we support Donald Trump because we understand that we had better economic opportunities under him than we ever had in Obama. And shame on you for starting in Obama.
Candace, I'm going to give the professor a chance to respond.
Under his administration, he allowed.
How many of you out there say you got better economic opportunities under Donald Trump than you had under President Obama? I'm just curious. How many of y'all are better off under Donald Trump? Come on now. Yeah. I mean, I ain't going to attack you. I just want to know. I mean, she seemed to be speaking for a lot of people. You ain't got to give your name or nothing. I ain't interested in that. How many of y'all better off, think you better off under Donald Trump? Well, white people too. If you think you better off under him, tell me how you feel you're better off. I'm trying to figure out how you could think that you're better off with an administration under Trump that brings America into ill repute throughout the earth, throughout the civilized world. How do you think the rest of the world looking at a government that invites people to immigrate, and then when they get there, they mistreat them, take their babies, and send their babies off somewhere? They kidnap their children and then claim they don't know where they're at. How do you think the country is better off when you finding out that people that's in the inner circle that ran the campaign chairman and the assistant to that campaign chairman, now they indicted for tax evasion and bank fraud and all this kind of thing? You're finding out people in Congress that support him, that support this man, now they being indicted for insider trading and for lying to the FBI and all this kind of thing. How's the country, how are you better off? Oh, no, you ain't got nothing to say now. Well, ain't you something? Is anybody typing something? Where's all these people that's better off?
Bloodshed. And Trump wanted for the National Guard, and the Democrats stopped him. I'm really done with it. I'm done with it.
I don't want to have to talk over people, but we have to go back and forth. And Candace, we're going to have to take a pause there. Couple things. You're making a personal attack on the other guest, so I have to give them a chance to respond. Let me respond. First of all, I have to say, Professor, I'm going to go back to you. I have to say, the topic of this discussion that we have tried and perhaps are fake.
Now, she made a personal attack on Mr. Dyson, but she turned around and projected that onto him. What?
On live television to discuss is Trump policy. The incident that you're referring to yesterday is not necessarily this topic.
Democrat policy.
And so we have to gather more information. So I'm going to go to the professor. Professor, I'm going to respond, sir.
First of all, I never said anything about Ms. Owens. I never directed any animus, any particular rhetoric, any conversation toward her. So first of all, what you say, you allowed it. First of all, I'm not God. I don't control the universe or weather. I don't control the atmosphere, geology, or geography. So I did not point these people toward you. I think it's reprehensible.
And even that, you know, you're talking about, a lot of times people blame things on God. You can't blame God for what you did while he gave you dominion. Blame your wicked self. Who let it happen that them babies got ripped away from their mama? Who let that happen? Did God let that happen? Or did the president and the Congress let that happen? You know, when the Obama administration made it known that Putin was interfering in our elections and stuff, and let Donald Trump know to watch out for that. And when Obama left, he left putting sanctions on Putin there, didn't he? Who was talking about lifting the sanctions off of Putin? Who been trying to do something to help Putin them get them sanctions off of them other than the Trump administration? Who's been attacking America's allies and befriending those who have shown that they are not America's friends? You're going to get enough of choosing the wrong side. You're going to get enough of choosing to support people who don't give a damn about you. Since history didn't teach you to stop doing that, it looks like a lot of you going to keep repeating that history. But I'm going to tell the ones who think that they're going to go back to that foolishness, time for that's gone. The only thing going to happen is everybody with the mark of the beast, with the education and understanding of the beast in their forehead, you're going down with them.
Any human being is, if you will, put out of a particular establishment because of her ideology. I think that that's problematic. So I did not suggest that. Number two, yeah, you are black and I am black, but that doesn't mean that automatically we agree with everything. Of course not.
We should respect one another.
No. Your skin is black. If you want the truth, the only black people in this country is the Muslims. Y'all got that term from us. You didn't want to be called black. We had to convince you to call yourself black. And then when we got popular and we started making progress and people started respecting us, then it was okay with you to be called black. Now that's history. That is something that's provable. Do you hear any of these people who are 60 and up? They know that what I'm saying is true. The Muslim is the only one that was black when everybody else was a Negro. And when we called you black, you said, don't be calling me black. I ain't your brother. I ain't your sister. The women did it much more than the men did. You used to call somebody black back in the 50s and the early 60s, you get hit in the mouth. Talking about you always been proud to be black. You don't know what you talking about. We made you proud. Then you come up and attack us. Well, I'm not accepting your attacks no more. You're not going to rewrite history and try to make it look like we didn't do nothing for you. You didn't even stand up to white people until you saw us doing it. Used to be scared to even listen to our teachings, let alone join. Be talking about, you know, them white folk gonna kill y'all. Kill us for what? Because you didn't think we had the right to stand up and act like men and women. And if you stand up and act like a man or a woman, them white folk gonna kill you. You didn't say it like that, but that's what you was thinking. Now I want to come in here talking all that yang. Well, I don't want to hear it.
What I'm saying to you is that when you talk about me as disrespectful, here's what's interesting to me. You have come on here and, like Donald Trump, reduce everything to narcissistic self-preoccupation and articulation of your what you're saying here. So
she don't even understand the words that the man using, and he trying to argue with her. Once you find out you're dealing with someone, I mean, you want to know her intelligence? Look who she's supporting. Any person, white or black, that looks up to a man like Donald Trump, you don't have to wonder if they have a low IQ. How can you admire a savage? And Donald Trump is a savage. Make no mistake. He's a savage. And you notice the people who come in here mad at me, the first thing out their mouth is filthy language. Huh? Because they can't have an intelligent conversation with anyone. You go online. That's why the scripture call them a Babylon, a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. All you have to do is go on there, Twitter. That's the language that you use for birds, Twitters. And you see all the filthy language and the filthy talk and the hateful things that people say, print, and then you see. And that's all that you basically see on there. It's people expressing hatred and vitriol and venom toward one another. I've invited some of these people that leave they'll come on some of my videos and leave something on that. And I say, well, brother, invite them in here and let them tell me why they feel that way. Don't hear no more from them. You see, they cannot communicate as one human being to another. So the scripture says that everybody that's on the outside of the word of God, they are as a dog. It says that on the outside are dogs. You notice dogs can't reason with each other. They just bark at each other and growl at each other. You understand? You see? Just like when Donald Trump accused Maxine Waters of having a low IQ, all you had to do is ask him one question. When did you give her an IQ test? I bet you he said, what do you mean? Then he'll say, well, I was just saying. And this man is president of the United States. He still doesn't realize, because he never respected that office in the first place. If he had respected the office of president, it would have shown like it showed with John McCain. Like it showed with any person who is in the government that respects the government. It's certain things they just won't let fly out of their mouth, not out of so much respect for the man, but respect for the office that the man holds. Do you understand? You know, so I pity you who don't understand that you could judge. I mean, you could have judged whether or not you wanted Donald Trump to be president by how he treated the man who was president before him. He come in there and disrespect that office, because you can't separate the man from the office. Once he's got that office, you have to kind of put some restraint on yourself. Now he's still conducting himself like a private citizen. Here, this man is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the United States, and he's the chief executive officer of the government of the United States, and he's still conducting himself like a private citizen. And when he speaks, he, just like when they was talking about, he said that the Attorney General should put an end to this investigation. And then they tried to say that he was speaking that was just his personal opinion or whatnot. Once he became president of the United States, it ain't about no personal opinion. He ain't got no right to be sitting up talking his personal opinion publicly. Because every time he opens his mouth publicly or tweets something publicly, he's doing that as the president of the United States. Now, he's unfit for that office. Unfit meaning when you are not, it's like a person that is somehow gets appointed as chief surgeon in a hospital, and you know, he done told you he really ain't no doctor. But you figure he do just as good. I'm sick of all these doctors that don't know what they're doing. Well, I'm gonna pick a man that ain't even a doctor. We'll put him in surgery. And do you know how crazy that sounds? But that's what you did. Then when you discover that the man is not able to do the job, you keep trying to somehow keep him in there. Because you forgot. It ain't so much as the people keeping him in there. It's them crooks like Grover Norquist and them that said, we don't need no fearless leader. We just find a Republican that's got good dexterity and can sign what we put in front of him. How that sound? So you anyway, let me let you go. It's late. No, I'm not going to belabor it. I could say a lot more, but I'm gonna leave it alone. But I'll say to you, sisters, take a lesson, and brothers, take a lesson. Don't get out in the public like that. Don't let people parade you out in public just to show your inadequacy. Stop wanting to get up in front of a camera just to be in front of a camera. You know, children, they do that. I've seen little boys, little girls, they get out there, Mama, Daddy, look. And you look over there and they doing nothing. But they stand there grinning simply because you looking at them. They just wanted attention. And they didn't know what to do with it when they got it. Well, that's okay for a baby. But it's not okay for an adult that when you put the camera on them, then you discover that after getting all out there and getting out in front, you discover that they really had nothing to say. Just like that 1 Million Man March. Man got all them millions of black men to come to Washington. And then he started talking about the measurements of the Washington Monument and all that kind of thing. And you know, I mean, and you had everybody and his brother want to get up there and say something for 30 seconds and 2 minutes and that kind of thing. What is that, man? You had all them people come all that way, spend all that money just so you could be seen and heard, and nothing accomplished. Well, okay, I'm going to leave it alone. So I know I'm offending you. Too bad you don't pay attention, because you don't know the difference in offending and correcting. But anyway, you know, you correct a wise man and he will be wiser. Correct a fool, and if he think he can get away with it, you'll receive a blow. And I'll say to that one that had his talking about what he would do to me. You got to bring your behind. You can't leave your behind at home and come after mine. Just remember, you got a behind too. So anyway, you know, and I don't have to get mad at you. You know, water can be scalding hot, and you'll never know it if you don't put your hand in it. And the best thing you can do for me, boy, is leave me alone. And the best thing you can do for you is leave me alone. So, but anyway, may Allah bless us all. And I'm talking about those who hungry and thirsty for righteousness. That's all I'm talking about. And keep us safe and in our right minds. May Allah's salam alaikum.
The session is no longer being recorded. Your conference recording. Goodbye.